business is a kung fu sing with good fortune that it bring. So quit your moping.
Okay, hello again, Ashwin.
Hey, Jen.
Thanks for coming along for another session of fortune cookie philosophy.
I'm feeling, are you growing and morally developing from these sessions?
I think I am, actually. Nourishing.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying they're better than an actual fortune cookie. Like, this is better for us, I think, morally.
Yeah, well, there's definitely not a lot of nutrition in a fortune cookie.
No.
There's no like chia seeds or, nice nuts or anything. There's so few ingredients.
Yeah, there's no protein fortune cookie.
No protein fortune cookie. I just thought I'd make mention, and I did this when we first started the segment, but if you're a fan of fortune cookies, you might have noticed that they're not as readily available as they once were. And I actually contacted one of the major supermarkets to say, what's going on? What is going on? And they sent me a statement back.
Okay.
So I thought I'd just reread you that statement just to put your mind at ease and to understand what is happening with fortune cookie supply in Australia. So we recently expanded our tailored Asian range into around 150 stores with a focus on inspiring customers and making a wide range of Asian ingredients, meals and snacks more easily accessible. While we have seen a decline in the popularity of fortune cookies, we are seeing a growing demand for more contemporary Asian snacks.
It's like they're saying, stop asking us to sell stereotypical foods, you out-of-date dunce.
Anyway, so look, you can put your mind at ease.
Yeah.
You now understand what's going on if you can't find fortune cookies in your local
Okay,
supermarket.
cool. No more requests from the Qing dynasty, please, Jen.
All right, let's get cracking. Once again, we've got our pile of messages which we've extracted from cookies, and just to confirm that you don't know what message we're going to have. Rachel doesn't know what message we're going to have, and neither do I. So, Ashwin, if you could dig your hand into the special box and find this week's message.
I'm going to go to the bottom of the message of the box. Okay, someone is coming out, opening my eyes. Today's message: you may only be one person in the world, but to one person, you may be the world.
Who wants to start? Ashwin, what are you getting from this one?
Yeah, I think this is a Western fiction, that the idea is that we're such a romance-obsessed culture and movies just talk about love and lust and all that fleeting, fluttering butterflies in our stomach, which talks about the one, whereas I don't think there's a one. I just think there's personalities that match, there's cultures that match, there's interests that match, and then you find someone you get along with, but we dress it up in this romantic idea of the one. So, yeah, I don't like this concept.
Yeah. Have you got a bit of a chip on your shoulder? You know, you're in your 40s.
Yeah.
You don't have any kids. You've mentioned before a bit of pressure from the parents.
Yeah.
Are you bringing your own baggage into your analysis of this message?
Yes. Yeah, I just want the one to be out there. No, I don't. No, I think I've always been this person. Though I've always been a loner. Even at school, I would go and play on the school drum kit, just so I could spend time alone from actual human beings. I didn't even like the drums, but I would spend 45 minutes in the drum room. So yeah, maybe I'm into isolation rather than falling head over heels with people. I find it a bit silly because I feel like maybe I'm too sensible, and this is a non-sensible idea.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Let me have a look at the message again. You may only be one person in the world, but to one person, you may be the world. I just found this message like, ooh, how special. Like, am I supposed to feel warm reading this message?
Yes.
It's not really giving me
Are you like
much.
that in your relationship? Like you don't respond well to romantic gestures and things like that?
I would say I'm not overly sentimental for sure. Yeah. We've got a special guest again, of course, and rejoining us this week actually is Dr. Rachel Hannam. She's Clinical Director of North Brisbane Psychologists. Rachel, would you like me to read that message again, or you've got a handle on it?
No, I've got it, and I believe it's very similar to a quote from Dr. Seuss. I think that might be where it originated.
Oh, fantastic.
To the world you may be one person, but to one person you may be the world. And I had a bit of a different take on it from you guys when I heard Ashwin read it out the first time. So I'm going to go in a bit of a different direction with this.
Great.
If you don't mind. What it made me think of, the image that popped into my head was of someone in a nursing home and their son or daughter visits them. And that's the one, highlight of their week that they really look forward to, that person may be in some way their world, even though they're only one person. So I think the quote for me is pointing at the fact that, relationships can become very, very important and very, very meaningful to us. And it reminds me that we are hardwired for attachment and connection.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
I love.
we went straight to romance and Rachel didn't. I think that's saying something.
Yeah, and we were so cynical and dismissive.
Yes.
That's okay. I think you can interpret these fortune cookie messages in different ways.
I also don't like the idea of us having to be the world. That's a lot of pressure for me to be the world to one person and to maintain that. Why can't we all just be little faint slivers of being to other people? Not the world, just a little crusty old thing in the corner, because that's easier to live up to with all our flaws that we carry around.
I mean, it's Dr. Seuss, Ashwin. Dr. Seuss liked a bit of rhyme. He liked a bit of repetition. Don't forget that.
That's fair. Okay.
I'm just wondering whether or not I should report this message to the Dr. Seuss Foundation, because I feel like there's some copyright issues going on, potentially. It's not like we want to put too much pressure on someone saying, you're everything, pay attention. It's more like, just remember how important your connection with someone is and how much it can help them, especially in the context of older people.
Listening to you now, what came to me was the image of a person being isolated. I always get quite spooked by those stories. I got very spooked by the movie Castaway because Tom Hanks was on his own for 4 years and I'm an extrovert and that would be my definition of hell. Some people might love it. And those news stories of people being stuck in the wilderness for days before being rescued. And in that moment, how much their world changes when another human being, comes to their rescue. I think I love those stories because it's a reminder not to take one another for granted and to remember that we are pack animals, we're tribal animals, and we need each other. And of course, we need our own autonomy, we need our own separateness and sense of self, but we all really need each other. We rely and depend upon other humans for our survival. So for me, this quote just really makes me appreciate that interdependency that we all have. Yeah, because I totally take yours and Ashwin's point, which is, that's a lot of pressure, either to have on the other person for them to be your world or for you to be their world. And I sometimes explain to my clients that we have the love and the freedom systems. So our love system in our body and our psyche is hardwired for love and connection and attachment. But we also have a freedom system. And in our freedom system, we're also hardwired for autonomy, a sense of self, a sense of meaning and purpose, and all that stuff that makes you, you. And what can happen is one or the other system can get out of balance. So people can become too dependent on others and what others think of them and too reliant on other people giving them their love needs. But other people can become what's called counter-dependent or anti-dependent. Sort of like, I don't need anyone, and they deny their own attachment needs. And so it's worth all of us taking a look at our own systems and thinking, am I a bit out of balance in one or the other? Do I need to work more on my own autonomy and sense of self? Because we all want some sense of freedom, or do I need to work more on my relationships and my attachments and connections to others?
You're listening to ABC Radio. My name's Jen Leake. With me is Ashwin Segkar. He's a comedian and broadcaster. And Dr. Rachel Hannam. She's Clinical Director of North Brisbane Psychologists. We've got a little round of fortune cookie philosophy. And our message for this week, you may only be one person in the world, but to one person, you may be the world. Ashwin?
Yeah, I was just listening to Rachel there thinking, I have counter-dependency. I didn't know there was a condition for it because I'm always running away from any kind of dependence. I always want freedom in any situation. But I was also, because I had 28 minutes to go when I was travelling from the city to Sandgate Station, and I was on the YouTube scroll, and I found out there's a YouTube clip on the medicine wheel. You know the Indigenous medicine wheel? Native Americans, a few cultures have it.
I don't.
It's 4 quadrants, and they each represent each area of your life that you should work on. So there's body, mind, feelings, and spirit. So there's 4 areas that you should work on. And I think that's a nice approach to living a balanced life. So for the body, you do exercise and yoga, you eat well. For the mind, you might do meditation. For feelings, you might do this kind of stuff, relationships and connection. And for spirit, you might do a vision quest. You might go out into the forest for 3 days. And I think that's a balanced life. And I think as a Western culture, we've lost our spirituality over the last 80 years. So we're trying to plug the gap with other things. And I think romance has been drafted in to plug that gap from when we used to have a more comprehensive spiritual path that we could go on. So we've got to be careful.
I notice sometimes that as women get older, they seem to be less reliant on, that one other person, and that this sort of need of, I need a man, I need a partner, it does seem to soften as they get older, and they really seem to, I see in women, embrace their independence. Do you see that in your practice and just in general, Rachel?
Yeah, it's a great question. I remember one of my undergraduate lecturers who was steeped in sort of Jungian psychology and traditional psychodynamic psychotherapy. He said to us, I never forgot, that in midlife, women tend to go over towards the more masculine end of personality spectrum, and men will often soften and develop more traditional feminine characteristics. And I was 17 when I heard him say that, but I have been looking out for that ever since. And I definitely see that women, become, not always, but often less needy, less dependent. And men start to, as they approach midlife and in the second half of their life, really start to appreciate their relationships, their own feelings, soften towards their grandchildren, this kind of thing.
Ashwin, you've been telling us your inability to love and form close relationships with anyone.
Yes.
How do you feel about the idea that to one person, you may be the world? You, Ashwin.
Yeah. Who is this clingy person? Get a sense of self-esteem. Don't make me your little worlds. No.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Yeah. I relate to what Rachel was saying as well. I think men's testosterone drops as we get older as well. So we bring out more of our feminine traits. And I'm wondering if women's testosterone goes up or not. Maybe, Rachel, you can comment on if there's a hormonal reason for that increasing masculinization. But I'll just throw one point. This is going to sound almost politically incorrect. I just want to tell the truth because this is a phenomenon that's out there. Sometimes I've been in a taxi driver and I've had a taxi driver, male, in his 50s to 60s. He says, I don't date Aussie women anymore because I want femininity. And that's why I date people from Southeast Asia. Because he said they still have that femininity that I crave. And I'm just wondering if that's cultural or similar to what phenomenon you're talking about, where women are making that transition and he still wants that sort of more feminine qualities that he sees it anyway. But it's out there. This thought is out there.
I mean, maybe that's part of the appeal for men going for younger women, aside from the fact they, want the younger looks or whatever. They want to maintain that feeling where the woman's like, hey, please, I need you. I want you.
We have the data on this. There is a correlation between high estrogen levels and being more accommodating, nurturing, forgiving. So as women's estrogen levels drop, they do experience a bit of a drop in that willingness to be so very accommodating and so very forgiving. So the grumpy old woman phenomena really, is a thing, and men's testosterone levels do drop. So their levels of aggression go down, and it might well explain why some men want to go for the younger women.
Last thoughts from anyone, Ashwin?
I think what Rachel was saying earlier, we all have to see the weaknesses in our own approach to life because we've cultivated it over 40 years and we think, independence is the way, I don't need anyone. But there is a weakness to that as well. So, maybe just see what your holes are and try and plug them.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us again for Fortune Cookie Philosophy.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ashwin.
Thanks, Jen. See you, Rachel.